Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Emily Berger, and the topic of this presentation is postmodern period, its historical period, and a classical hero. Now, today we're going to be talking about three things. Firstly, what is the postmodern period? Secondly, what is the historical period, and how did that shape the postmodern period? And finally, we'll talk about a classical hero from To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, which was published in 1960. Now, the postmodern period is the latest literary period here in the United States, and it actually hasn't ended yet. Postmodernism developed from the modern period when a movement began where people no longer believed that truth only came from science and religion. Instead, people began to believe that the truth derived from power, control, success, and money. This movement also reflects a distrust in society, an entity, or really any authoritarian position. The movement also embraces a skepticism about what a culture really stands for. Postmodern literature written during this period often depicts a character as a hero, and readers can relate to that hero. This character often goes through a journey and ultimately is empowered by that journey, and thus, so are the readers. The postmodern period was significantly shaped by its historical period. Postmodernism began roughly in the World War II era, but it didn't fully develop until the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement and the Women's Rights Movement. The Civil Rights era brought forth many literary pieces that created an awareness to the inequality of African Americans and other minorities. Activists actually used literature as a way to gather support for their movement and fight against these cruel conditions. Now, just as the civil rights movement began to grow in power, so did the women's rights movement. Female authors, such as Betty Friedan, wrote to educate and empower women all across the country. And thus, a movement began, a movement which would become feminism. Lastly, I will talk about a classical hero. Atticus Finch, from Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, is a wonderful example of a literary hero. Atticus is a Southern gentleman, father, and attorney who becomes a hero to the black citizens of Macomb, Alabama, when he takes on a very controversial case for 1930. But interestingly, Atticus didn't become a hero only to the black community. In fact, he became a hero to his own family when they realized what their father was truly fighting for. Atticus demonstrates three major heroic qualities. The first is his courage to stand up for what was right, even when it wasn't easy. Atticus puts himself at great risk and experiences danger throughout the entire trial process, including discrimination and threats against himself and his family. His second heroic quality is his overwhelming amount of compassion for people. Atticus knows it won't be easy to fight for Tom Robinson, but he sees him for more than just the color of his skin. In fact, he sees him for his character, and that alone. His third quality, heroic quality, is his desire to find justice, no matter the cost. You see, Atticus has the highest moral obligation. He believes that he must help people like Tom Robinson because it's the right thing to do. In conclusion, I have explained about the postmodern period, its historical period, and a wonderful example of a classical hero. I have covered three main points: what the postmodern period is, how the historical period significantly shaped postmodernism, And finally, I discussed why I believe Atticus Finch is a great example of a classical literary hero. I hope you have found this presentation useful. Thank you so much for your time.